if you're listening to this alone, in the dark, with the volume just a little too high, you should know this first. This house was never supposed to be famous. It was never meant to be a story. No tourists, no documentaries, no headlines. And the people who lived there never wanted attention. They wanted answers. What you're about to hear is not a legend. There are no monsters, no rituals, no dramatic screams. Just a house. And what happens when something inside it realizes you can hear it. The house sits on the edge of a small Midwestern town. White siding. 2 stories. A narrow porch that sags slightly in the middle. The kind of house you've driven past 100 times without noticing. It doesn't look abandoned. It doesn't look cursed. That's what made it dangerous. In 2014, the Carter family bought it cheap. Too cheap. Mark Carter was an insurance adjuster. Practical, skeptical. His wife Elaine worked nights as a nurse. They had one son of 8 years old. Quiet, observant. The inspection report was clean. The neighborhood was silent. No crimes. No deaths on record. Nothing wrong. At least, nothing written down. The first week was normal. Boxers. Paint fumes. Empty rooms. Echoing with footsteps. The house had that hollow sound old homes get before they're lived in. At night, the wind moved through the walls. Pipes clicked. The floor settled. Normal sounds. Mark noticed one thing though. The house never felt empty. Not full. Just occupied. Elaine brushed it off. Old house nerves, she said. Your brain filling in gaps, Mark agreed. Mostly, until the 3rd night. At 2:17 a.m., Mark woke up. Not suddenly. Not in panic. Just awake. The house was completely silent. No wind, no pipes. That was unusual. He lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening. Then he heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Careful. Above him. Elaine was asleep beside him. Evan's room was across the hall. The sound came from the 2nd floor hallway. Someone walking. Barefoot. Mark held his breath. The steps stopped directly above their bedroom and stayed there. After nearly a full minute, the footsteps continued. Toward Evan's room. Mark got up. By the time he reached the hallway, the sound was gone. Every door was closed. Evan was asleep. The house was silent again. The next morning, Mark mentioned it, casually. Elaine frowned but said nothing. She hadn't heard anything. Evan didn't say a word. He just stirred his cereal slowly, then asked, "Dad, who was walking last night?" Mark laughed. Said it must have been him. Evan looked unconvinced. "He stopped outside my door," Evan said. "Didn't come in." Elaine put her spoon down. From that night on, the sounds became routine. Always between 2 and 3 a.m. footsteps. Soft knocks inside the walls. Something moving furniture who's slightly. Not enough to crash. Enough to notice. Elaine began hearing whispers while showering, just under the sound of running water, not words. Breathing. When she turned the water off, it stopped. Mark started finding doors unlocked in the morning. Cabinets open. Lights left on. Evan stopped sleeping in his room. He said the closet breathed. They installed cameras. Cheap ones. Just enough to feel in control. For the first 2 nights, nothing happened. On the 3rd night, at 2:19 a.m., every camera lost signal. All at once, when the feed returned at 2:47 a.m., nothing appeared out of place, except the living room chair. It was facing the hallway. Mark reviewed the footage frame by frame. No glitches, no shadows, no movement. Just missing time. The logs showed something else. Motion detected hundreds of times, but nothing visible. Elaine stopped laughing about it. She began sleeping with the lights on. Evan started talking to someone who wasn't there. Not imaginary friends, someone he didn't like. One afternoon, Elaine found Evan standing at the basement door, staring at the handle. "Don't open it," he said quietly. She asked, "Why?" "It doesn't like when we look down there." They hadn't unpacked the basement yet. It smelled old, damp. Mark went down alone that night. The stairs creaked under his weight. The bulb flickered. The basement was empty, except for one thing: handprints. On the concrete wall, small, adult-sized, pressed in dust, facing inward, as if someone had been standing there, watching. Mark wiped them away. They were back the next morning. The escalation was subtle. That's how it works. Elaine began losing time, finding herself standing in rooms without remembering why. Mark started hearing his name whispered from empty corners, always softly, always patiently. Evan began drawing the same picture over and over. A tall shape, no face, standing in the hallway between rooms. Then the house changed, not physically, emotionally. It felt heavier, the air thick, like something was waiting for permission. The breaking point came during a storm. Power out, rain hammering the roof. They sat in the living room with candles. At 2:21 a.m., the footsteps started early. Not upstairs, in the room with them. Slow steps circling the perimeter. The candles flickered. 10 went out. In the darkness, something spoke. Not loud, not threatening. Just close. "Now you hear me," Elaine screamed. The lights came back on. Nothing was there, but the walls were covered in handprints. Fresh, all pointing toward Evan. They tried to leave the next day. The car wouldn't start. Phones had no signal. Neighbors were gone. The road felt longer than it should have been. When they finally reached town, they turned around. The house was closer. That night, Evan disappeared. His bed was empty. The closet door was open. The basement light was on. Mark went down alone. The handprints covered every surface, and in the center of the floor, footprints. Bare, leading into the wall. Evan was found hours later, in his bed, asleep. When Elaine hugged him, he whispered, "It says this is where it learned to be people." They moved out within a week, left everything, sold the house at a loss, no explanation, no goodbye. The next family lasted 3 months. The next 6 weeks, the house is still standing, still quiet, still ordinary. No signs, no warnings, just a place where footsteps still echo long after everyone leaves. And if you ever find yourself awake at 2:17 a.m. listening to a house that suddenly goes silent, pay attention. Because something might finally realize you're listening.